Well, hello, everyone. This is really special for me. I have not been part of this beautiful community prior, but Ginat and I have talked, and many blessings to you, Ginat. And so sorry for your loss with Sheldon. Been thinking a lot about you, sending you love
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
support. So you know, this time, this topic is about sort of post-COVID, and I think we've all had, quite the shakeup. I think Mother Earth was actually quite delighted because she started recovering relatively quickly and fast because we all slowed down. There was less traffic, less airplanes, less everything, and but for us, I think it's been a sobering time, and a time for deep reflection for most people. I'm sure you've seen that for yourself and for others. And as hard as it has been, I think there's some beautiful blessings in it all. And one of them is community and the power of community and the importance of community, and that we don't get so isolated, because one of the biggest things I hear over and over is, I feel lonely, I feel isolated. Yeah. And so I think, these kind of forums, I know they're online, we can't give each other a hug, but and I'm a very physical person as a dancer, I love to hug people, but we can't, but we can sort of connect through this. And that's why I love to see your faces and as much as possible, because I feel like we all really need that connection. And so that's the first and foremost thing that I want to say is I would like this talk to be about connection and the importance of human to human connection, connection with animals. I see here Ellen has an image of her little kitty there, and our connection to nature, which of course macrobiotics teaches, so beautifully. Um, but just to follow our impulse with the connections that are needed. I have a good friend, she's English, of course I'm English. She used to live here in Boulder, and 2 days ago I had this just impulse to call her, and I knew it was a little late for her in the evening, but I'd had this impulse, but I'd been working all day, and finally I had, an opening to call, and it turned out she was really feeling down, living alone. And I'm living alone right now, and just, I was so glad that I followed the impulse, the intuitive hit to call, because we don't talk that often. And at the end of our discussion and conversation, she just said, I'm so pleased that you called me, because I've just been feeling really down. So I think during this time of, COVID, post-COVID, all these variants and everything, that is the number one thing, is how can we connect, and also to connect deeply within ourselves. And part of this topic is I'm just following your dream, which is a big part of macrobiotics. And I was thinking about George Sawa and his favorite song, which I'm sure you all know. It's the simple song, row, row, row your boat. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And I always loved that song as a little girl too. So when I found out that was his favorite song, I was like, I don't know, it's just a huge connection that I had with him. So, and then we would sing it in a round, so we would get all those harmonies. And life is a dream, and it feels very, very real. It doesn't feel like a dream all the time. Sometimes it feels very, very practical and pertinent. But I feel that there's a big dream going on, the universal dream, and then there's our part of the dream. And so what is our part? And, what is calling us? Because one thing I know for sure about dreams is the dream wants you as much as you want that dream. The dream wants you as much as you want the dream. So it's not just, if you want to be an astronaut right now and you're over 50, it's probably not going to happen. But there are real dreams that you came here to accomplish. And I think it's so important that we anchor in to those dreams, or that one dream. And of course, for many of us, I started macrobiotics when I was 24 years old and did the 3 levels of Kushi Institute and was just, blown away by all the information and the sense of it, the common sense, the just natural sensibility of it, and the macrobiotic dream is one peaceful world. That's the sort of template that we work in. And then we have our nuanced part of that. What does that mean for us? And how do we take that out there? And we all do it in different ways. And that's a beautiful thing, because we want to celebrate our diversity and not be stuck with like, we all have to be the same. We all have to be this way. We all have to be that way. And I don't know if you know Michelle Williams, the Freedom Fairy, but she does a podcast, on macrobiotics. And she interviewed me just last week. And we talked at length about all our different aspects. And I was like, I love macrobiotics and I love the food and everything, but I knew I didn't want to be a cooking teacher. I knew it wasn't really my gift. I can cook very well. You think it's delicious, but it wasn't my gift to bring that part through. My gift was in other areas of bringing the arts and healing and other ways of looking at healing. So we were just chatting about that and kind of laughing about that, because of course I married Bill Tara, who was a senior teacher. And I was like, I don't think I could be your wife because I don't really want to teach cooking. And he laughed and he was like, no. But that was, at the time, that was sort of what the woman did or had children. So of course I had 3 children with him, and that was fabulous, beautiful children, all in healthcare, by the way, all in different aspects of healthcare. One of which has been studying at Kiental. She lives in Switzerland, my eldest, Chenoa, and she's getting now her certification in shiatsu. I'm really excited because I always loved shiatsu and I always thought it was a wonderful way. And Rex LaSalle and I are still connected, and he was my teacher of shiatsu. So I have a lot of notes for today, and no time will whiz by as it does. So I'm going to follow through, and so I have them here. So when you see me looking down, this is why. So the key is this harmonious connection, harmonious being an important part of it, with nature and all of life, and of course including us big time, and our habits, and looking at our habits of body, mind, and spirit. Of course, that's a huge topic, but to reflect on our habits. And I think this is part of what COVID has given us, the gift. There are a lot of gifts in this, is that we've really had to reflect. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? And what are my daily habits? And I feel like, because it's been such an unstable time and a sense of sort of turbulence, as if I was in a hurricane once on the ocean, and that's a big deal. And when you've got these huge 20-foot waves and they're kind of hitting over the boat and you're like seasick and everything, it feels a little like that. It's been like that now for about 1.5 years. And we're kind of, which way is up? And what am I doing? And why is the world like, all these questions. And the key is reflection. And that's a big part of macrobiotics, is to reflect deeply on who we are and why we're here and what we're up to. So a key part of that reflection with habits is to look at the idea of conscious habits and unconscious habits, to really look at our daily life and to be willing to change, to be willing to grow, to be willing to let go, to be willing to move on. So I think this is key. And keep looking at, what is my dream? What is the dream that has been planted in me that wants airtime, that wants to come forward, that wants to be developed, that wants to flourish, like a rose in the garden? Because everybody has one. Everybody. And then it can connect into that bigger dream. So I wanted to take you through a day, and I'm going to give you some ideas, some things I do. And by the way, I am not saying I have it right, or this is the way. Osar always said, question everything, the school of ignoramus, and I don't know, and here's just my ideas, and please take them or don't. Test things for yourself. So, but I wanted to sort of take you through some of the parameters of the habits that I've developed that have really supported me through this turbulent time of unknowing, like everything's changing. What's next? How's it going to look next week, next month? And a big part of this is getting present, really being present to this moment, because really this moment is all that we have. This moment right here together, this is it. And the more present we can come in the moment, the more we can curb the anxiety about the future, or the remorse perhaps about the past. Yeah. So I'm going to just take you through a day and give you some thoughts and ideas, and then we can open this up. The first thing is to follow the rhythms of the day and the night. In other words, go to sleep early, wake up early. Not to be working until 1 a.m. and then, oh my gosh, I've got to sleep till 10 o'clock. The idea is to stay, and of course, Rudolf Steiner talked a lot about this in his work in Macrobiotics. There's a lot of mapping that we can do there. And a lot of what he said was rhythms are terribly important for children. Well, they're also important for us, especially right now when we're still more isolated than ever before, is to keep a rhythm going, a healthy rhythm. So the first thing is to wake up early with the sunrise, and so you can even look on your phone or whatever, see when is the sunrise, what kind of time is that, and wake up even just before the sunrise. And what I'm going to say is the first thing I do is record any dreams I might have. Now, if you don't remember dreams, you can ask to remember dreams. You can make a habit to remember your dreams. But the first thing is make a quick note, scribble it down. I had this bizarre dream, da, 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 and just get it down. Because if you don't do it first thing upon waking, you're going to probably lose it. It's like fishing and fishing for a fish. And you've got to be really attentive to that line and reel it in the moment you feel a tug. So that's the first and foremost thing I do, and just have some water. I don't believe in having tons of water all day long. I'm not, and most of us don't with macrobiotics. We don't want to exhaust the kidneys, but good alkaline, microstructured water, the first thing, and, get the system going a little bit. And you don't have to be glugging it down. You could take a few sips. You could take a whole glass, whatever feels right for you, but just get the system kind of waking up. And then I think to connect to the 4 elements as soon as possible is really, really powerful. So of course, one is water right away. You can have some water, drink with that. Now, the next thing that I do is I go outside barefoot. And I remember learning this very, very early on in macrobiotics, is walk barefoot on the grass when the dew is still there on the grass early in the morning, because you get this tremendous ionic exchange. And you get this magnetic field and this grounding, and it's so powerful. So I would do that every morning, and I do. Actually, we had a big thunderstorm last night, so it feels amazing here today. And I went out early this morning and just walked on the grass out in the back. And I know some people can't do that. They might live in a high rise in the 6th floor, but then, maybe you can jump in the car and go to a park and get that early morning dew. And on that note, I'm sorry I missed Ken's talk on fibromyalgia, because it's such a prevalent thing. But it is early in the morning here. I mean, it's 8 o'clock now, but however, in Japan, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, these type of things, it's called magnetic field deficiency syndrome. So if you go out early in the morning and you get this fantastic earth energy that's coming up, you can really help with those kind of conditions. So that's the first thing. And then breathing. This is something I find for myself. Sometimes I just forget to breathe deeply. We're all breathing, but want to breathe deeper, more consciously, and then let it become unconscious, but get into the habit of deep breathing, and even just putting your arms out, when you're standing on the earth, and just this posture is a great posture of victory, versus the posture when we're on our phones, which is which is over the phone, which is defeat, basically. And it has a huge emotional, mental component. So breathing clean, clear air. Hopefully you have good air in your area. I have also air systems that I use in the house that create negative ions and take out the impurities, because air is so important. And still, even though I do yoga and Pilates, I'll forget to breathe deeply. So breathing is key. Gotta breathe. So then the next thing is the sun, fire energy, the fire element, is to greet the sun. And when the sun rises and you greet the sun as it rises, It's an amazing feeling, and just the gratitude for the sun, the gratitude for everything, but that sun that is so predictable. Every morning it rises and every night it sets. So whether you do some movement, I'll talk about the movement, but or you're just sitting, to greet the sun and say, just thank you, universe, thank you, the divine, for the sun rising yet again today. And so that is powerful. Also, sunlight is filled with information, just like water is filled with information. The earth energy is filled with information. This is all food, and this is the most critical first food, because macrobiotics, we tend to get very focused on food that we ingest, but this is all food, just like our friendships are food and our family's food. So with this, it's really important to let our skin get some sun. Early in the morning is good because you're not going to get burned. And close your eyes and allow the sunlight to come in, because that informs the whole body and sends messages to the body for cellular regeneration and movement and blood flow and lymph flow and all of that. So it's really powerful to do that every morning. So unless it's, of course, pouring with rain or something like that, or it's snowing, like crazy, which we get a lot of snow here in Colorado. But, obviously it's when it works for you. But as much as possible, greet the sun with gratitude and do your sunbathing right then. So I will just wear as little as possible, a little tank top and some shorts, and let the sun come and, kiss, just sun kissed, right? Kiss my body, kiss my arms, kiss my legs. Let this sunlight in when I know it won't burn me. And being a redhead, of course, I'm very careful of burning in the sun. So this is early morning sunrise sun, and different. Movement, great to do outside. You can do a little do-in. You could do some qigong. You could do some yoga. You could do some tai chi. You could just walk. But movement, getting the body into movement, getting the body into flow, and just stretching and, turning and, gently, but getting ourselves awake for the day. Meditation, gratitude, of course, and then setting up your day with a great attitude, positive expectation for the day, and intention. What is this day? What is this day going to be? And I remember a friend of mine saying once, if you ask deeply, what do you want me to do today? And you're asking whatever that is for you, source, universe, divine, God, you're asking, what is there to be done by me today? What is needed? Usually about 3 things will show up. 3 things, 3 simple things, generally speaking, not 10, not a whole long list, just 3 key things. And I have found that when I do that really, connectedly, it's amazing. Sometimes it'll be bizarre things like, go see this new film. And I'll be like, I don't want to go see that film. And then I go see the film, and I won't go to horror or anything like that, any negative food, no, positive food. But sometimes it's just that perfect thing I needed to hear, or I could share to somebody else. So sometimes it's like, well, pick up that book on your bookshelf. Really? I'm in this other book right now. No, that book. And there's something in there, and just open it up and there's something for you. So, or a connection, like my friend Susan, call Susan, like, okay, I will, even though it was late, and it was like 10 o'clock her time, really getting to bedtime. So, but I'm so glad I did. So that's a key thing, is in your meditation at the end of it, to be at peace, to be connected to the peacefulness of nature, but then, to have this intention, okay, and to ask the question, what am I here to do today? So that it keeps us in the present moment, not too far forward. And then there's the next step, which is kind of, take a shower time. And so I'm going to suggest a cold shower. If you can't do a full-on cold shower, you can do a warm shower, and then you can just do cold at the end. But the fact that you do the cold at the end is so awakening to the system. It is fantastic. And then you can do a vigorous skin rub. You can take one of the little veggie brushes that I love, or you can take a loofah, nothing too harsh, but you want to just give your skin a good skin rub, in the morning. Again, getting that blood flow going, getting that lymph system going, so that you're preparing yourself for a great day. drying with a rough towel, not some fancy towel that's super, super soft, even though I have to say I do like those. But a rough towel is a lot better to just get that, get the body awakened again with sort of a skin rub with the towel. And then to make your bed. Now, I know this sounds really silly, and I'm sure you all make your bed, but I can tell you there are many people who I've gone into their home. Maybe it's an American thing, I don't know, but they don't make their bed. That's not helpful. You want to make your bed, because when it comes to nighttime, you want to be able to get into a nicely, freshly made bed. You don't want to get into a bed that's all rumpled from the night before. So obviously, I bet every single one of you is like, well, of course, Julie, duh, of course I make my bed. But a lot of people don't anymore, and they don't think it's important. If you've ever been, of course, in Israel, everybody has to spend some time in the army, right? When they're late teenagers, I am sure they make their bed. I was in boarding school for 5 years, from the age of 10 to 15. You would air the bed. You would pull the sheets off. So while you take your shower and just air it, or have your breakfast or whatever, but then you'd make your bed. We wouldn't dream of not making our bed. So that is an obvious, but it's an important one. And then, and I know this might sound silly, and maybe this is maybe a girl thing, but I think it really does apply to all of us, is what clothes am I going to wear today? What clothes? And feel into it and use your intuition. What colors do I want to wear today? What feels right for this day? And so some mindfulness around that is really helpful. And I know during COVID, it's been easy. Everybody's been like in their pajamas all day long, It's like, but actually to change out of pajamas, yeah, I know, Clara says no, but of course, me not either. I mean, I have never, ever spent the day in my pajamas unless I'm sick, which I haven't, thank goodness, been sick for many years. Not seriously, not needing a doctor since I had my children, has 3 cesareans. That was in my late 20s. So, I'm going to be 65 in 2 months. So that's a good thing. Macrobiotics works, let's say that. For our health, but which clothes, what colors, and choose mindfully, because colors do affect you. So if you're not feeling very, very empowered or passionate, you might want to add in some oranges or reds, or if you're really agitated and you're annoyed at your neighbor, you might want blues and some light, purples. And today for this, I just wanted this really gentle, super soft cotton, and natural fibers is really important. Nothing else but natural, silk, cotton, wool. But just something soft and it's kind of a little more Japanesey, really, in a way, which for me feels really natural, because I've worked with Japanese way of looking at things for almost all my life. So certainly since 24 years old. So that's why. And then structuring a work day, whether you work or you're, retired and you do other things, but having some structure is really helpful. Just like what Steiner said about cycles and children needing structure, needing to know when things are going to happen in the day. Some structure is fantastic, but I'm going to say it's a balance between structure and flow, because you also want to allow for the unexpected. You also want to allow for that impulse. Oh, I think I want to go out for a walk right now. I wasn't planning that, but that's what I want to do. So, just structure and flow, and finding a balance with that, which we talk a lot about balance with yin and yang. And again, using your intuition on that. Now, when it comes to food, let's look at, there's quantity of food, and then there's quality of food, and then there's when you eat food. I'm talking now about physical food that you're eating. So I think the number one thing is eat when you're hungry. It might sound so obvious, but honestly, a lot of people just get into such a structured ritual that they eat when they're actually not in the mood for eating. Or maybe there was an upsetting discussion with somebody, and then, they're eating. That's not great. You want to eat when you're feeling calm and peaceful and good. And I would say with quantity, most people, of course, I live in America, and people just eat. The quantities are extraordinary to me. We don't want to live to eat. We eat to live. We eat to live our dream. We don't want to be just living in order to eat. And what's the next meal? And what's the next meal? So quantity so many people eat just so much more than they need. Now, obviously, if you're really struggling with, and you're very slender, you're very thin, you might need to be eating a lot more, but be mindful of the quantity. My stepfather always said, stop eating and get up when you're still a little, like, not replete, you're not feeling full, because it takes a little time for the stomach to really realize it's full. And if you keep eating until you're full, you'll overeat. So I've always remembered that. That was a really helpful thing, just to get up before you're full. And so look at your quantity carefully. And of course, quality, we talk a lot about in macrobiotics, obviously all organic and everything else, but also when to eat. So eat when you're hungry, not too much, top quality. And I'm going to say, for me, naturally, I have always done this intermittent fasting. Nobody talked about intermittent fasting. When I first heard it, I was like, what's that? But then I was like, oh, that made me laugh, because it's actually what I've always done, which is, my dinner's at around 6 o'clock or so the night before. And I don't really eat until about midday. And that works for me because, it takes a lot of energy for the body to digest food. And I'm not really hungry at all. And so that gives me around, I was actually counting, like about 18 hours of rest for my body, to have the rest. Because we don't need to eat all day long, so, and it's not good. It's not good for us to do that. And I mean, when you eat a big meal, you're like afterwards, I mean, it's good to go for a walk after you've eaten, but you also feel a little bit like, oh, that was fabulous, but because now your energy is going into digestion. So for instance, speaking, I do a lot of public speaking. I really love it. And because I love to share knowledge, especially about health. Yeah, that's really my super passion, and nature, and our connection to nature. And I never eat before I'm going to speak, because I want the energy to move into the connection and the speaking, and not into my digestion. I don't want to have that fight going on. Well, hang on, you just gave us a bunch of food. Now we need to work on that food. And now you want to do something else, so be mindful about when to eat, and then of course what to eat. And what to eat is a huge subject on its own, which I'm not going to put my focus on it today, but it of course depends on the season, and of course it depends on your constitution, and especially on your condition and what you need. So, I mean, there are very obvious things in macrobiotics that we know, which is, if you're feeling ungrounded and nervous and anxious and whatever, you need more root vegetables, you need grounding, you need, to be eating less salad, or, less mushrooms, which are very ephemeral, but you could have the opposite situation where you're feeling completely uninspired and kind of dumpy and just kind of too grounded and too stuck, in which case you'd want to do the complete opposite, and eating sprouts and eating a bit more mushrooms. And we have shiitake mushrooms here now being grown here in Colorado. I'm so excited. It's a lot cheaper than buying the Japanese dried ones, but and I happen to really like mushrooms. Some people hate mushrooms, but I have to also be careful, like, how many mushrooms do I eat and how often, I mean, how often, not like counting them out, but so it really depends on that. Your season of the year now is summertime. I happen to love actually Middle Eastern food. I mean, I love eating tabbouleh and hummus and just light foods like that. So, and I don't drink water while I'm eating, that, right? Don't drink while you're eating. Just eat the food and let the food work, and have water, a little before, a little after, whatever. But don't confuse the system, because you don't want the system trying to work on the water while you're, digesting food. So now let's go into, so that you might eat in the morning. So that's why I'm saying, I'm not saying this, you should do what I do. It just works for me, intermittent fasting. I love it. But if you want breakfast, you eat breakfast, you would find, whatever your whole oats, whatever, you like, a little rice and miso soup, is wonderful, beautiful breakfast. And then, you come to your work day. And so now I'm going to say, now you turn your Wi-Fi on. And this is something I really, really want to stress, is Wi-Fi is not good for us. It creates a lot of anxiety in our system on so many levels, especially mentally and emotionally. So do not leave your Wi-Fi on all day and night. Turn it off at night, and don't turn it on in the morning until you're going to use it. And that is great because it gives you the discipline of not waking up and grabbing your phone and saying, who texted me on my phone? A lot of people are doing that, sitting in bed, working on their phone. This is just not a good way to start your day. It's not helpful. You're immediately immersing yourself in social media or emails, and you've got the Wi-Fi on. So, and you will notice if you turn it off at night, I'm going to talk about night hygiene, sleep hygiene, but you will notice the difference massively. You turn it off at the router. There's a router. Turn it off. Turn it back on again in the morning. It's not going to be a problem. You're not going to have an issue with it. But this is now at the time, like I would say, okay, now's the time to turn your Wi-Fi on. Maybe it's, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, whatever. So use your devices very mindfully. Do not put your phone to your ear. I just hardly ever do that unless I'm in a shop and one of my kids calls or something. I have a protective device on my phone, protective device. You want that. Use protective shields. If you're at a computer and you work a lot all day at a computer, which of course now with social media and everything online, I do work more on the computer than I ever thought I would. I'm not the greatest at it, but necessity, what is that? Anyway, I can't think of what that.
Mother of invention.
Yeah, thank you. There's the mother of invention. When I use it, I use a grounding mat, a small grounding mat. You can buy them anywhere. I mean, one of the companies I work with, Japanese company, we have them. But a grounding mat is important, and that your bare skin is on the grounding mat at any given time whilst you're on the computer. I also wear magnetics, so that the magnetics also supports me in staying connected to nature, and that's the key to the earth energy. Whilst I'm being thrown off, because EMFs is like pouring acid rain on a flower. Doesn't matter how wonderfully you eat and all your beautiful organic foods from your garden or whatever, you got to take care of the EMF issue, because it's pervasive and it's ubiquitous and you can't see it, but it's affecting us all, and children very, very much. During your work, take frequent breaks for your eyes. So you look out, so you're not just looking at a screen, you look outside, long distance, get your eyes exercising, your body, give your body breaks, not just bio breaks, but, breaks away from the computer where you're just stretching and like that. So it's pretty obvious, those sort of things. You can prepare foods for dinner. You can soak beans, you can soak things, if you're working from home, of course. If you're at an office, you can't do that, in which case you have to think ahead. But we're all used to doing that, preparing foods for later for dinner. The connection with people, I mentioned it right at the beginning, but really offsetting the isolation and loneliness that we've been feeling, and the fear. Let's move into love, and not live in fear. I do not watch the news. I do not take in media. I stopped that in 1995 because I realized that's food, and that food is not good for me. That food is upsetting me. It's throwing me off. It's scaring me. It's stories of homicides and suicides and, and now, of course, the variants and all this. Like, it's not, what can you do to make the world a better place and live your dream? I'm going to just suggest virtually no media. If you have to just keep up with the top 3 things that's happening in the world today, by all means do that. But don't do it first thing in the morning. Absolutely not first thing. Set your day, set your intention, be in gratitude first. And then reach out to people, as I mentioned, reach out to friends, reach out to Ginat's making a beautiful community here. Reach out to each other, have each other's emails, connect, discuss things, discuss the latest book you just read and whatever it is. It's so, so important right now. I can't overemphasize. I just heard my daughter went to visit a friend, and the friend's best friend was 38 years old. She said to her husband, I'm going out for a run. She went out for a run. She went up on a bridge and committed suicide. Nobody knew. This is happening a lot, everyone. This is happening a lot to all age groups, and a prevalence with teenagers. It absolutely breaks my heart. Makes me want to cry right now. Nobody knew she felt the way she felt. And it was a famous, very high bridge over a huge river. And it was a famous bridge for that. I mean, famous, I can say famous, infamous bridge for that. So upsetting. So we have to connect with each other and love each other, get over the issues that we have with each other, because we're all going to get them sometimes. Then when it comes to the end of the day and dinner time, I'm just going to suggest slow, steady, no devices. Don't be on your phone and eat your dinner. Focus on the dinner, bless the food. You know, we always have done that with macrobiotics. You put your hands above, you thank the food for being in harmony with you. You know, and thank, you know, that we have food. Thank the earth, thank the sun, thank all the elements, thank the universe, thank the divine creator that creates it all. Bless your food before you eat it. But take your time, slow, chew. We know about that. Chew your food. Be mindful with your food. Don't take anything for granted. We know the stories of, you know, we've seen stories of in the wars where there was no food, there was, you know, and the meaning of food then becomes very real. And then in the evening, I'm going to suggest in the evening is calming down time. You know, you've had the morning, you ramped it up, you were outside, you were doing things, and you were working, making things happen and connections and all the fun of that. And the evening is a time for generally for calming down. I mean, of course, if you're going to a concert, of course you do that. If you're going to a dance and you dance, I love to dance. So I'll go to a rock and roll concert and I'll dance my heart out, you know, small right now. There's no big ones happening. But basically, for most days, it's a calming down time. So maybe reading, maybe conversations with loved ones, reflection time, maybe journaling. You could also do that in the morning. If it's a movie, make sure it's positive, nothing negative, nothing scary, nothing horrific. You know, it's like, you know, this is the food you're ingesting before sleep. So you want to, again, be mindful about it. You know, I'm partnered with Gaia. You know, I worked with Gaia, which is a streaming video on demand company, and it's all the films on consciousness. So those are the films I watch. If I'm going to watch a film or movie, I watch something on Gaia because it's uplifting and it gets, oh, wow, that's so beautiful, you know? So, and if you know, I don't even have a Netflix account, and I never have. And Amazon Prime has a few, you know, movies there, and free ones too. And occasionally I'll watch something like a romantic film or something because I feel like that. But generally speaking, it's just lovely things about consciousness, you know, or alternative healing, because they have a lot on alternative healing there. And then if you can, and this is tricky in the evenings, is no Wi-Fi devices for at least 1 hour before bed. I mean, they say preferably 2. Part of it's the blue light, but also it's just the energy of it. You don't want that energy right before sleep. So if you can, turn the Wi-Fi off as soon as you can and maybe read a book. And this is why I don't have a Kindle either. I want to read an actual physical book because I don't want that frequency from the Kindle. I don't want the frequency of the iPad right before I sleep. And then sleep hygiene. So a couple of things about that. One is you can do like a warm shower or a warm bath before bed. I think it really softens the energy system and it opens us up to the dream world. So, you know, I like that, but not all the time. But I do like that personally. And also like to just be clean before sleep and kind of wash away the day. Is it absolutely necessary? No, but you might like it and it might feel good for you before you prepare for sleep. So this is also setting your body, mind, spirit into the intention we're going to be sleeping soon, you know? Of course, turning your Wi-Fi off is absolutely critical. And then take an inventory of the day, have gratitude for the day. And here's a big one. Make amends in your heart. If you've had any contretemps with anyone, try to really create a peaceful vibration and to not go to bed angry. You know, it doesn't help us when we go to bed angry. It's just not a good idea. So one idea is you can do the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is a prayer of reconciliation and forgiveness. Because, you know, our emotions are hugely powerful. And I know we're coming up on the next talk, you know, with Renee and Bitzalel about love your emotions. And emotions are super powerful. So this is an important time to kind of release any angst that's going on, you know, with people. So the Ho'oponopono prayer is just 4 key little sentences. I'm sorry is the first one. even if you could think it's their fault, doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. That's the second. Thank you. I love you. And you might be, I don't love her right now. I just don't love her right now. But so I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. You can write it down. And you just say it over and over. And it's a connection from your heart to their heart. Now you could do this for the whole of humanity. You could do this for your town. You could do this. You could even do this with a virus. I haven't thought of that, but sure, it might work. But it's about, like, we all have issues with people. Maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's your neighbor, so this is like almost like closing down the karmic file, so that before you sleep you feel as complete as you can with the world and your agreement with the world. There's a great book by Byron Katie called Loving What Is. And the reason we get so unhappy sometimes is because we're not loving what is. We're resisting what is. And we all do this. And I do it too, because I am no different to any of you. But it's really, you realize the cause of suffering is resisting what is. And so if we can come to a completion before sleep about, it was a beautiful day. Yes, there was this argument. I'm going to do this prayer, of reconciliation and forgiveness. And, and then you can really go to sleep mindfully. And I sleep in a magnetic cocoon. I sleep with the earth energy. I sleep with negative ion rich, tourmaline crystal. So I sleep in a living vibration of nature that really supports me. Far infrared, which is the sunlight, fire energy, but very calming. And that's just good for my whole system. So I'm sure that's, one of the reasons that, health just, touch wood and blessings that, health is a strong part of my life. And of course, is what I teach is health. So the connection with nature, you just can't get enough of that. You just want to maintain that as much as possible. And that's why I'm so strong about this EMF frequency. There was actually just a summit. I haven't even had a chance to listen to it yet. It was about a week ago. I think it was a 10-day summit on EMFs. Run by Lloyd Burrell, who's an English gentleman, and he talks a lot about the effects. So if you don't really know or you don't believe me about that, please do study, because one of the lovely things with Macrobiotics is we're really good at studying, all of us, and we love to study. So study that and realize what an impact it has, even though you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't see it, but you feel the effects of it. And a big part of that is depression and anxiety. So, and not being able to sleep, and people having a sleep epidemic right now where people aren't sleeping. You want to aim to sleep for 7 to 9 hours. It's been proven sleep is the most important thing beyond anything else, beyond exercise, beyond food. Sleep is key. Sleep is critical. That is the number one thing that keeps us healthy, because the whole body, mind, spirit takes a break. Well, actually, the body works really hard during sleep. It actually should, but we should be sleeping deeply and having our dreams and our true dreams. And Osawa always spoke about that. He always talked about, and Misho Kushi as well, who, of course, I worked with a lot in Boston and London and so forth. But they always said, there's your true dreams, and then there's your kind of detox dreams, that aren't so important. So that's fine. The detox dreams are going to happen, but the cleaner we live, the better we live, the more mindful we live, the less of those we'll have, and the more true dreams will come through, and they do come through. So you want to pay attention to that again. So that's your sleep hygiene. And then just before you go to sleep, thank you for this life. Thank you that I get to be a spiritual being having a human experience on this planet at this time. I feel we were called at this time. Macrobiotics is so crucial at this time. Many of us have been the forerunners, the early adopters and so forth, but now is a time to teach everyone. So please, take these teachings out to the world in whatever way you do. Write a blog, do a video, be brave, connect with somebody else. Say, I heard this thing and it might really help me. It might really help you. And so I think macrobiotics is incredibly important. I'm so grateful for macrobiotics in my life. It set me on the right course, the right North Star when I was 24 years old. I never looked back. And I'm so blessed to be with you today. So thank you, thank you, thank you very much. It is now 8:45, and I'm going to turn it back over to Gina.
Well, that's excellent. I was writing notes the whole time. This is so uplifting, especially maybe for me today. I don't know. I really found it very encouraging, and I really appreciate it. I thank you for that.
You're so welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.